Introducing Shop, Click, and Pick, the simplest way to support those doing good in communities everywhere. We understand that shopping is a necessity, but with a slight adjustment, you can make a huge difference without spending any extra money. Here's how it works. Please visit communitypayitforward.us and navigate to the Find Your Partners tab. Discover our verified giving partners, which are trusted allies ready to meet your needs. Shop with any of the partners that resonate with you. Click a picture of the receipt or invoice, then pick the mission partner you wish to support and use their QR code to send the receipt directly to us. After that, all you have to do is sit back and enjoy your purchases, knowing that you've made a meaningful change for someone in need. Community Pay It Forward amplifies your business's impact by sharing the story of those who require your services, rallying support for those who need us all. Because no one needs to go it alone when we all come together.
Born into a real fight wasn't right. Where can she dream here? Took a hold of her.
Good evening, everyone. How's it going? My name is Zach Clayton, Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. As we aforementioned before we came live, there is a lot of serious conversations going to be happening on this show. I like to think that most of our conversations are serious. I like to think that there's a lot of lightheartedness going along with them, but this one's pretty serious. Okay, we are talking about domestic violence and domestic abuse. We want to make sure that people are understanding some of the things that they need to look for. I found out something the other day. If you go to certain garages here in Greeley, that's Weld County Garage. someone can have them ask them to check their car for tracking devices. Didn't know this. Partly because it's hard for me to imagine that a woman, anybody, okay, not just a woman, I don't want to do that, that anybody would have to check for tracking devices. Is that naive of me? Possibly yes. Probably yes. But I had a really, really good friend who came to me and had a conversation with me and said I had to go to Weld County Garage, and they found 2 tracking devices on my car, and my jaw just about dropped. I was unbelievably shocked. I just could not believe it. So, hey, I want to give a huge shout out to some really good friends of mine. Another cool creation, and another color creation. Sorry about that. Another color creation. They surprised me today by dropping off this wonderful T-shirt. Proud father of the WUW Eurasian Championship 2024 with my name on the back, which is awesome. Once again, this is about my oldest boy, Free Zaxxon, winning the WUW Eurasian Heavyweight Championship. So proud of him. Just as proud of him for all the work he's doing with kids. I'm going to tell you something. I got to watch him react with the kids after that victory, and I could not be more proud than when I was doing that. So thank you to Another Color Creation for the shirt. I appreciate it. And I do appreciate it. I hope to talk to you all soon. Again, we are going to be talking. The first interview we're doing is with Deborah McPhee. And I want to reiterate, if this triggers you in any way, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in a situation when you need it, the phone number you see right now on the bottom of your screen, 1-800-799-7233. Once again, 800-799-7233. That is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. 800-799-7233. Sorry, 7233. If you need help. We told this to my friend yesterday, and I'm telling you right now, I fully believe this. It may be tough to go out and find someone to help. It may be embarrassing. But in my eyes, it shows that you are a much tougher person walking away. And the one thing that we know for sure, you're a hell of a lot safer. This first story with Deb, I'm pretty sure she'll agree with me, because she stayed in a situation and it damn near killed her. Damn near got her killed. I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank Jelly Schultz, a disruptor and serial entrepreneur, which is such a hard 2 words to put together. Author and motivational speaker. Jill's mission is to help release people from shame. Her own experience of experimenting with other children when she was a child, herself, because of her own sexual trauma, has led her to speak out on this taboo topic. She helps anybody who has a secret or has felt shame to overcome that shame, because you know what? You were in a bad situation We all make mistakes. We all do things that we shouldn't do. We've all, the difference between a lot of criminals and, people who are incarcerated and us, well, they got caught doing what they shouldn't be doing. I also want to give a huge thank to Mr. Robert Heath Sr. At the Legacy Leadership Consulting Group. He is teaching love and responsibility. Business owners how to successfully apply the right strategies in the right order that allows them to grow their businesses to maximum capacity. As he learned development with over 20 years of experience, he built transformative programs, developing effective learning strategies and utilizing instructional designs. I need to learn how to read, apparently, to close performance gaps. He implements global learning programs and leverages technology to increase retention and drive adaptation. I also want to thank, of course, my other sponsors. You got Z World Webs, Rider Justice. One of the newer ones that we've got to the program is this lovely company here, which they ask you to live life free. You Are My Light Foundation. They implement rescued victims of human trafficking, sex, and labor slavery with their God-given rights, life, freedom, education, and autonomy. Again, this is not a show today for the lighthearted. This is not a show that there's going to be a lot of joking around. This is not a show that just not a show that we're going to walk back from and go, man, I couldn't stop laughing. It's just not going to happen. But hopefully, when you walk away from this show, you are going to say, I learned a lot. I can't believe this is going on, and I need to step up and step out. Again, if you are triggered in any way, 1-800-799-7233. 1-800-799-7233. If you need someone to call for you, give us a call. 970-909-0751. 970-909-0751. We'll try to come up with a code. We'll make it like you're trying to order a pizza or whatever. You give us your address and we'll call the cops for you. But when we get back, I'm going to be proud to reintroduce you to my friend, Deb McPherson. But first, hey folks, we are proud to be teaming with this wonderful pet organization. I know there's you lunatics out there that love to decorate your dog. I know this because my parents are those lunatics. Actually, I'm joking. I've ordered the ties for my dogs. So just to let you know, yes, I'm one of those lunatics too. But if you're looking for pet supplies, support small business. And when you support small business, like Give So Good, you can give back to an organization that you choose. And at the same time, I met our guest for this evening. And when she got up and she gave her speech on what she did, I was I was immediately captivated because it was something along the lines of what we like to do here, which is helping others. And then she told me her story. And I was like, well, I used adult words. Let's put it that way. I was like, oh my God, but they were stronger words than that. And I knew that I wanted to get her on here because what she's done with her story is flat out amazing. She wants to make sure that you, your company, and your employees are safe, are comfortable, and love working for you while you're being compliant with state rules. I'd like to introduce everyone to my guest, to my friend from Deb McPhee Coaching, Deb McPhee. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you for inviting me on tonight.
Well, we had you on a couple weeks ago on Footprints Forward, but I really wanted to get you back on here because we really want to take and you and I are going to be announcing here in a little bit a special offer that we've got for people to come in and just get their feet wet on what you do. But I really wanted to get your story and McPhee Coaching. I wanted to get that in front of people because what you're doing is so valuable, and the way that things are in the business world, and some of the uncomfortable things that happen in the business world. I think that what you do is very important for owners to say, hey, there is somebody we can talk to about this. There is a way that we can make sure that we protect ourselves, and we make sure that we create a just an atmosphere of caring and support. So can you tell us a little bit? We're actually gonna start with the good stuff here. Let's talk about McPhee Coaching.
Okay. Well, McPhee Coaching was born out of COVID, just as so many of us. I spent most of my life as a medical rep. And when COVID came, the reps were not allowed to go hospital to hospital or doctor's office to doctor's office because they said we were bringing the germs from one place to the next. So we were all home. And at the same time, the state, I live in Chicago, so the state of Illinois mandated sexual harassment prevention training. So I called the Capitol and I said, what do I have to do this? I think I'm qualified. So it just so happens I was already a domestic violence advocate for 20 years. I was already a sexual assault crisis intervention person for 20 years. And I have a master's degree in business and corporate education. So when I explained all this to them, oh my God, everybody needs this and nobody's qualified to teach it. Right there, open a company, and that's what I've been doing for a couple of years now. So
your main purpose is one for the business themselves, and it's for the business owners to really protect themselves over all of this because but it's also an education to people. So hey, don't put yourself in a room with a person and shut the door and open yourself. Don't fall into that trap, right?
First, yes. My company, it's my job. I'm an advocate for the business owner. It's my job to protect business owners, keep them out of court, keep them from being sued. I do everything before the lawyers get involved. When I'm involved, there's usually not a lawyer involved. It never escalates. So that's the purpose of my company, what I get paid to do. Now, there's also the women. I will never ever take money from a woman in crisis. Somebody calls me up and says, I'm trying to leave my abuser. Oh, give me $100, I'll help you. No, I can move somebody out in under 90 minutes. I've done it 4 times. I've moved women out of their house in under 90 minutes. So that's I do from my heart, my volunteer, my women help women, and we get stuff done. But my business and my money, my income comes from business owners because I have got programs with Salus Training Systems. I've got systems that we put in place within your office that prevent and reduce office drama. No drama, no lawyers.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Deb, I think that's one of the reasons why you and I really when you were talking about helping women and getting them out of a situation in under 90 minutes, I think that's one of the reasons why you and I really struck a friendship there. I think that's a good part because you said it. This isn't a thing where you go, you know what? We can get you out of your house in less than 90 minutes for $9.99 plus shipping and handling, and then you pay for the gas and all this other stuff. No, that's not what you say. You say, you know what? You got stuff going. Let's get your out. Let's go. Let's
Right. And there's certain ways to.
Yeah, and that's so important that you don't think about the money. You don't worry about the money. You think about the person, and that is so missing in a lot of things today.
Mm-hmm. Right. Thanksgiving morning, I was on the phone for 2 hours trying to find a bed at a women's shelter for this woman who was trying to get out with her baby before her, I don't think they were married, baby daddy started drinking, got drunk, and came. I said, he's coming back for you. He's going to get drunk and come back for you. So we were trying to get her out. And it's like, even my husband was saying, let's just go get her. I said, it's not that simple. You can't do that. So there's specific ways that the state mandates that you do things, and you follow protocol just to keep people safe.
What do you let's just, this is something that I was just kind of thinking of, because you're right. I mean, one of the last things in the world you want to do is put yourself into a situation where you're dealing with a child and a paternal parent comes out and finds out that everything's gone, and they're going to come after you for kidnapping their child,
That's right.
for removing the child from the home. So, I mean, there is a lot of things that, we all have every once in a while. All of us have that superhero complex where we want to take and get in and get stuff done, move people out, but you really got to be careful about what you do. You don't want to step in anybody's rights, but you don't want them to be with an abuser also.
Right.
So, but what are some of the things that, say somebody's in your situation, Deb, and somebody hears about somebody in a bad situation and they want to help? What is the first thing they should do?
Well, if you're in any kind of crisis, you call the hotline. You call the 911 Women's Shelter Hotline. They're going to help you more than I ever could. What women can do is rally, help you pack, help you hold a baby while somebody else packs. There's lots you can do as friends and neighbors. But there is protocol. So if you are in a real crisis and you think somebody is coming for you or has already abused you, you call the 911 shelter or the women's shelter, the local women's shelter.
Well, you and I, we should have talked about this off air, but I'm going to talk about it on air with you because I think actually it'll take and help us as well. And this is a message to everyone out there as well. If you are ever in a situation where you're looking for a bed or you're looking for anything like that, we ask, please give us a call, because we can put we can throw our feelers out there and say, hey, we have community helpers on Facebook, and we've built that page to try to get it to where, people can go on there and say, hey, I'm in need of this. And it's a, no sales site. It's, if you have something, put it on there that, I have a dresser, I have a bed, it's in good shape. And, so please, if you're ever in need of something, let us know, and we'll also try to put that out there and help you out. But please, everybody, it's on Facebook. Just go to Community Helpers, and you can look it up and join the page. And if you have something to help, we always end the show by saying, if you have an extra hoodie, you're not wearing it no more, don't put it in a yard sale. Give it to somebody in the community who's dealing with the elements. This is kind of the same thing. If you got an extra box of Cheerios, get it to a family who needs Cheerios. Don't just, throw it in the trash. So, Deb, what are some of the things that McPhee Coaching offers to the business themselves?
Okay, well, sexual harassment prevention training is now mandated in 8 states. Okay, there's also mandated reporter training in place. There's bias training and domestic violence training. I have about 6 classes that that are kind of high volume that everybody needs. So I kind of have different levels of customers. Some business owners say, I've had the same 6 employees for 10 years. Okay, there's no drama in that office. Take your class, be compliant, call me if you need me. Other offices, let's say bigger companies, or a lot of my clients are doctors, and they have group practices where they have 6, 7, 12, 15 locations. So the owner can't possibly know every single employee other than that's the employee that works at that office. So you don't know. So that's where it's not like you have, I've got 5 employees. I eat lunch with them every day. I know them, they know me, and there's no drama. When you get to 50, 60, even 20 people, there's no way as business owner you can know all of your employees. You don't know if somebody, domestic violence is 1 in 3 women. So if you have a bunch of women at your office, you may have a few of them that are not having such a good time at home. Women that are suffering from domestic violence at home is suck the productivity. You lose money. I don't know the exact number per year of what money is lost, but production money is lost if you have employees that are suffering from domestic violence at home. So it's important that you know that. If one of your employees has to have a restraining order against her husband or boyfriend, you should know that. I mean, this is when the crazy boyfriend walks in the front door and starts shooting everybody. So, and if you have a business where the door is unlocked, if you're open to the public, you're not going to lock your door, right? So these are things that you should know about. You can always call the police and say, hey, we got one of my employees has got a PO, protection order or restraining order on her boyfriend, and we're all going to leave at 5:15. Can you send a squad over? Most towns will send a squad over just to sit in front of your office, let everybody get in their car safely and go home, because if she's got a stalker, he's there waiting for her to leave work. So
some of the situations as a business owner that I think that it would be, and if I'm wrong about this, please correct me, but some of the situations I really think would be very important to get this, regardless on if it's mandated or not. But one would be if you have young employees, because as kids, we don't exactly know how to act like an adult. We're still kind of used to that, well, I pull the girl's hair because I like her, but she thinks I'm being mean to her and it's cute. Ha ha ha. They're still in that mode, and that's not acceptable. And also companies with a heavy turnover, because you're always introducing new people into new areas. Is that right?
That's correct. And this is also breeding a new type of criminal. There's a type of woman who's going to place herself in your business as an employee or a customer, and she's going to instigate inappropriate behavior. And as soon as it's reciprocated, boom, she's going to file, because she knows you're not going to go to court for 5 years. You're going to write a quick check for $20,000 to make it go away.
And this is where we were talking about the office thing. Don't shut yourself in an office alone with anyone. Forget just females. Don't shut yourself alone with anyone.
Cameras go everywhere. Camera in the lunchroom, in the hallway, the waiting room, and I have a lot of doctors' offices. So you want a camera in the waiting room, camera in all the ops. That gets a little tricky if it's a doctor's office and they have to take their clothes off. You got to get real creative with that. But the dental offices, dental hygienists file the most claims. They're alone in the room with the patient and get inappropriately touched the most. So, for instance, you may have a young dental hygienist cleaning her teeth. Oh, patient Joe is coming in. I can't stand when he comes in. He always accidentally, oops, sorry, accident. And then, so what happens is that she's either going to call in sick because she doesn't want to deal with him that day. So now you're down an employee, or she muddles through the appointment, puts up with the abuse. She's not going to tell the business owner because she doesn't want to cause trouble. She doesn't want to lose her job. But then she goes home and just fumes on it. And then she gets on Facebook, and we know all those angry Me Too ladies on Facebook. And then somebody's going to give her the phone number for the EEOC, and she's going to put a claim against the guy grabbing her butt. And then Tuesday morning, the doctor walks in and he's got a claim against him. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, doc. I didn't mean to. Nah, right? But it's the business owner that burdens the financial. You have to hire a lawyer. Now you have to go to court. There's 3 years of mess that you knew nothing about.
Yeah, and like
So
you said, this is a situation where, I mean, you're not going to be able to go to court for 5 years, not unless you're independently or very successful and wealthy. So,
Mhm.
I mean, this is a situation you can protect yourself if somebody comes in and says, "Hey, we've got a report of going. Here's the tape. Going ahead, take a look at it. Tell me what I did wrong."
Right. So you
You-
want
you-
to be the type of boss, first of all, that your employees are going to come to you with their problems. If they're afraid of you or they think you're crabby or mean or whatever, they're not going to tell you. And then all of a sudden you have a claim against you because you own the business. The business owner, the umbrella, everything that happens to all the employees, all the patients, customers, and guests meaning the UPS man that happens to be in the building if something happens, okay, all falls under the owner's umbrella. The business owner is responsible for all of that. And a lot of them don't understand that. But, mhm.
There's a lot of transparency that has to happen with everyone when it comes to this, right? We'll take the shooting that happened, I believe, in Maine just recently, where a guy went to go look for his girlfriend, his recently uh, um, estranged girlfriend, and he went to two different locations and started shooting people up. This is one of the reasons why you really need to make sure that you are clear with your boss so they can take these steps and protect not just you, but the people that you work with. I mean, nobody wants to take their drama into work and ruin everybody's day. You can get a hell of a lot worse than just ruining someone's day if you don't do this carefully, right?
Mhm. I had one of my clients in Chicago. They were in a strip mall in Chicago, and I said, "Everybody walk out together." The doctor thought he was doing a service. They everybody cleans up and waits in the waiting room, and they all walk out together. And he stands there and watches everybody get in the car. Okay, good boss, right? Well, they're all in the waiting room. I don't want to say her name. Where is she? Where is she? A little 23-year-old assistant was in the alley dumping the garbage, and she was getting sexually assaulted in the alley because sexual assault is very seldom random. You're being watched. So the guy that did it to her worked like 3 doors down, and he knew that she was in the alley dumping the garbage every day at 10 after 5. So he knew the opportunity was there. He knew she was out there alone. Right. So she didn't want to make a report, and that's her choice. But then, like the girl's father went to fight with the doc. I mean, every day he woke up, it just got worse. So different layers and layers. So this guy thought he was doing a great job walking all of his employees to the car, but not realizing that the one employee was in the alley all by herself. So nobody ever empties garbage alone, not even if you're 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't care. One person stands at the door with the phone, the other one runs the bag over to the dumpster. That's how don't ever go in an alley alone now. So
Yeah, that's just a terrible story.
right.
It really is. Hey, I would like to take a real quick break right now, and I want to introduce everyone to my buddy. You guys hear me talking about him all the time. He's the gentleman who created my website, and he's ready to create yours. If you go to Mr. Z and you have him create your website, and you tell him, "Hey, I came from Community Pay It Forward," you can tell him that, you know what, I am in support of programs like other programs out there, like what Deb does, that is there to help other people. We've got what are called mission partners. You guys see all the mission partners all the time. Uh, Martyred Angels, Project Die Hard, Marie Barney Boston, uh, all of these. And all you have to do is you get your website done with Mr. Z, and you choose who you want money to go to. funny. That's such an elegant. It's kind of funny. That's such an elegant, nice, and slow and peaceful, music on that. But then you come back to me. Um, Deb, one of the things that you like doing, and one of the things that you've released, in which we will tag this form to this video as soon as we're done with it. So you'll be able to take and look at this video and download this video yourself. But you're looking for chances to become guest speakers.
Yes. I started this company in Chicago, and for the first year, it was just me running around Chicago, and I've quickly gained national popularity. So now I go all over the place. So if you do have an organization and you need somebody to speak about sexual harassment or violence at work, workplace violence, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. Now we need to get into the why.
Yeah.
And this is a horrible, horrible story. And I can never, every time that you tell this story, my heart hurts for you. But you built something great out of it. So why don't you go ahead and please tell us this story?
Okay. I was a young single mother. I was 32 years old with 3 kids under 10. And that's so when you're a single mom, your life is all about your children. You get, children, this, that. Okay. So by the time I was 40, I got married for the second time. And I thought I waited enough time between marriages. I thought I picked a good partner. And I married a con man after money and children. So I lived with this man just literally a couple months, couple weeks, and he crossed the line with my 13-year-old daughter. So as a mother bear, you did whatever you needed to do to keep your children safe. You changed the locks, got an order of protection, filed for divorce. I had him arrested, and check. So what we know now that we didn't know 20 years ago is that when abusers can no longer control you, that's when they come to kill you. 3 women a day in the United States are killed by intimate partner violence. So this man went into the West Side of Chicago and hired 2 drug dealers to kill me. So I was kidnapped. I was with these men for 6 hours, and I escaped. And I stole their car keys, and I drove myself to the police. Because if there's any ladies watching, a knight in white shining armor is not coming to get you. You have to know how to get out of any situation you find yourself in. So I saw the car keys. I get a hold of the car keys, made a run for it, stole their car, drove myself to the police, walked in, literally, here's the keys to the car I just stole. Do you want to know what happened to me today? And the police didn't believe me. And that's very common with victims of domestic violence. The police don't believe you. They thought I made the whole thing up in retaliation to what he did with my daughter, because that was just, the week before. And we were in the police station. Everyone in town knew who I was. So I had to go into hiding. They said, oh, well, if you still want to go get him on Monday, we'll go get him. So I said, great. How do I keep my children alive over the weekend? So at that point, I had 2 kids in junior high and 1 kid downtown at Loyola University in Chicago. So we all had to go in hiding for the weekend. And then on Monday, they went and arrested him. So they kept him for 72 hours. And in that 72 hours, I moved. Me and the 2 younger kids moved, and the kid at Loyola moved. And then I had 3 cars. I had to sell 3 cars and buy 3 new cars. And it's just like amazing. It's like, you did what in a day? That's what I did in a day. Yeah. So we moved 2 apartments and sold 3 cars and bought 3 new cars in 72 hours before he got out.
What happened when he got out?
Well, well, we were gone. He couldn't find us. But this is going back to the, like right now in Chicago, there's a catch and release program. So he would have gotten arrested and then right back out 2 hours later. So thank God he was there for 2 days. That gave me time to pack and move. So he got out. It took me 3 years to put him in jail. I mean, I lost my job. I was the Chicago Butler rep. I was just selling Butler toothbrushes to all the dentists. And so I lost my job, and it was like we were being hunted. I mean, you couldn't, I didn't leave the house for 5 months without my mom or my brother. And the only place I went was the doctor or court. So my mom and my brother had to come and pick me up and take me to court. So I didn't leave the house without a bodyguard. I had 2 teenage kids who were going crazy because, of course, they wanted to run the neighborhood, and I wouldn't let them. So you put a damper on, the lifestyle. But this is all what happens to the victim. I mean, I had the expense of moving. I had the expense of swapping out the cars, and I had a kid in college that was in a dorm that had to move into another dorm. So now the college was all involved. So many different layers of protection had to be put in place. So we finally got him in jail and all. But after that, the day after the kidnapping, I had to take a trauma test at the hospital, and I tested out at the highest category that human could be traumatized. That was my category. Okay, that's where we started from. That level of stress and trauma. So when we started the healing process, which of course was major therapy, and everybody wanted to give me pills. So here's a prescription. I want talk therapy. I don't want to take any pills. So I did a lot of talk therapy, and my kids had to go to counseling. He went to jail for 10 years. We went to therapy for 10 years. I mean, it wasn't just over. So 20 years later, I still go to a chiropractor because I was restrained in the back seat with my head crooked. I can't even turn my head, with my head crooked sideways, that I still have to go get adjustments. So these are lifelong things that are going on for me because of one day 22 years ago. So that's the healing part of it. So when I was finished with therapy, first you go 7 days a week, then 6, 5, 4, 3, then you go check in once a month and all that. But then I started college, and then I became a domestic violence advocate and a sexual assault advocate, just to start helping other women that have been through something similar. But what I did after that, I was 40. This all happened when I was 41. When I was 49, I started college. I was a freshman at DePaul University when I was 49 years old. So I got my master's degree when I was 58. So that, you come full circle. A lot of people, when you're a victim of a violent crime, it's all poor me, I'm a victim. And then you wake up one day and say, I'm not a victim anymore, I'm a survivor. And a lot of people are comfortable staying there. But then there's the third level, transcendence. And these are the people that go back and teach and coach and train other people to make sure it doesn't happen to them. So basically, my whole life now is teaching safety. I'm a certified safety trainer with the NRA, and that was a pretty heavy certification to get. So I'm heavily vetted. But everything I do is about keeping people safe in your personal life, safe in your professional life, workplace safety.
That's really one of those. You tell that story, and you're talking about, I when you said that they wanted to give you drugs. I mean, you were in a situation where that wasn't an option. You had to be loosened. You had somebody out there that wanted you dead.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Their livelihood depended on you not being there. Your children's safety depended on you being there. Mm-hmm. So it's just it's an amazing story. It really is. So, I wanted to bring back up the little booklet that we have here, because this talks about some of the courses that you offer. I was wondering if maybe you could go through and you could give us a little bit of explanation on each one of these courses.
Okay, well, the sexual harassment prevention training is pretty standard, and it's mandated in 8 states. And now what I'm finding is that people are calling me from non-mandated states saying, yeah, but I don't care that it's not mandated. I think it's important, and I want my employees to have it. So that is just basic kind of, and it really is. If you were raised with manners and common courtesy, if you can't say it to your mother, don't say it to a woman at work. That's what it boils down to. But that is like the do's and don'ts of how to act at work. The bystander intervention, that class is because if something is happening at work, when do you keep your mouth shut? When do you get involved? When is it your business? When is it not your business? Mandated reporter is for clinicians. If you're working with a child and you suspect trafficking or abuse or sexual abuse or physical abuse or anything, you are mandated to tell somebody. Okay, for minors, you are mandated to tell somebody. Now, I've got a lot of doctors who have abused adult women in their chair. And I'm like, well, then you ask. This is a safe place. You can always come here. We're going to help you. Do you want me to call somebody for you? Okay. So, and then the bias training, the bias training is new this year. And that's what everybody, you think, oh, well, I'm not racist, but everything has to do with the block you grew up, where you grew up. Sometimes you really think that you're okay, but some of the attitudes and things that you have from your childhood, you're not okay. So that's really just being inclusive and appreciating and working with everybody as they are, not because, oh, they look like this, so they should act like that. That's not always the case. And then the domestic violence awareness. What do you do if one of your employees comes in with a black eye? I mean, really, what do you do, right? Is it your business? Is it not your business? And you are never, as a business owner, you're never going to get the phone call, I have a black eye, I have to stay home for 3 days. Well, now as a business owner, you're down an employee for 3 days. You're going to be down production. So you're the one that's losing money because you have employees that are getting beat up at home and they're not coming into work. Okay. And then when violence comes to work, that's everybody likes that class. That just describes the 4 different types of violence and what to do when trouble shows up at your door. And that is such an important class for business owners and supervisors, because when trouble comes in your front door at work, the top man there, the top boss or the highest ranking person is the one that has to call the shots and deal with it. So what do you do under these situations? And then custom presentations. I have 20 years experience. So whatever you need your group to hear, I can make a program for you. I just had a big company just called and asked me to write a class on human trafficking for them. So once I have that written, that'll be offered as well. It's not complete yet.
Well, these are great, and this isn't only a training that you do for businesses. You also help individuals themselves. Yes.
Yes, I'm a life coach. I'm a certified life coach. People certainly hire me to I'm stuck against the wall and I need to move forward, and I can work independently with people as well in their personal lives as well as business lives. And I've got personal business coaching as well. And these are for offices that really just are a mess and they need a do-over. And we just really go in there and we go through everything. Sometimes we have to let people go and bring more people on, and it's a transition period. And I work with the business owner all through that.
You and I were talking about you're going to be starting up business coaching once a month. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so all these classes are available once a month, and they're on set days, and I do it on like a Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday at different times. So, like some people, like we don't work on Wednesday. Okay, we'll take it on Friday. So a lot of the classes are at 4:00 in the afternoon. And what I suggest people do is like close your business an hour early, order your pizza, grab a laptop, and go in the lunchroom and just get the class done.
And that was something about, let me go on ahead and bring this back up here. All of these, if you look at like the bystander intervention, this is 1 credit hour, right? That's what that is.
For the people in Illinois, they need. I'm certified to give. I'm licensed by the state of Illinois to give CE credits if you're in Illinois. If you're in a different state and need CE credits, we work with other other people, like if I know somebody in that state, they can give the credits for you. So we work around that. So, but a lot of those, anybody that holds a license, the doctors, the nurses, the dentists, the hygienists, the lawyers, the insurance people, anybody that holds a license has different mandates state by state of what they need to renew their license.
Okay. And you and I have come together on this business coaching, the business coaching inner circle. And you've got a special offer for our community.
They're the community. If we'll tack on, if you write community, what do we agree on? If you write community is the code word to get the free class when violence comes to work. So you can go on when violence comes to work and put in the code community, and you can take that class for free.
That's fantastic, and I love it. I appreciate that. I will. You and I will keep in contact, and I will be there when we do that because I really want to see that. We're just now building our this, and I actually have brought on a virtual assistant, but I finally brought somebody else on, and looks like things are going to be getting going. And who knows, maybe someday I'll have like an actual employee here. That's kind of what we're working towards, but I mean, we are working to get there. Let's see. You have two types of customers. Why don't you let us know your two types of customers?
Okay, so the first customer, it's like, yeah, I've had the same 5 employees for 10 years, and there's no drama here. We don't, okay, fine. You don't need to pay for the whole coaching program. Pay for the class, get compliant with the state, and call me if you need me. Right. So, and then the other type of client is somebody that needs more hand-on. And actually, the inner circle program, that's just like hiring me as an employee. I'm in every week. There's phone calls. I go to your meetings. I work with the staff. I do one-on-ones. I got a couple offices that have problem children, should I call them, that I make sure I'm Zooming with them one-on-one and checking in with them, text message, and how you doing today, and all that, just to keep them out of trouble. Because if they cause trouble, the business owner gets sued. So if you can have a problem child on your team, I can babysit them.
Well, yeah. As much as we don't want to think that, the people that we're working with are problem children, yeah, sometimes.
It's not so much that they're problem children, they just sometimes don't understand the rules, and the rules are changed. See, every June we get a new generation of young women that enter the workforce. And each generation that enters the workforce is less tolerant of unacceptable behavior and more willing to file a claim.
Yeah.
These claims have skyrocketed since the Me Too movement a couple of years ago. Claims in the United States have been way up. So business owners have to say, oh, that's not going to happen to me, and think, what do I do? Before every emergency, there's a chance to plan. What is your plan? What if this happens to you? And it's not usually, see, a lot of business owners says, oh, you're just going to help my team report me. No, my job is to protect the business owner. And the business owners usually behave because they're protecting their business. It's usually a customer or a patient that is bothering the young woman.
Well, a lot of times, and this is not saying for every man in the United States or in the world, okay, but a lot of times we don't want to go out there and do anything like that because we want to protect everyone around us.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain people in the United States that just don't give a damn, apparently, but there's a lot of times that the business owners will say, hey, look, I want to keep my nose as clean as possible. My company means everything to me. My family means something to me. And I mean, look, a misrepresented charge is just as damaging as an actual charge at times, because then you got to go through and you got to prove that, hey, I did nothing wrong. And if you do, like you said, and if you have cameras to where, people are going to look, it's hard to beat a camera where you're sitting there and they can see you didn't do nothing wrong. It's hard to
Right.
beat that.
But the gossip is what's going to destroy your business. Once it hits, I don't know, once it hits social media of the group of the town that where you work, you're going to lose 40% of business overnight. It's going to take you 5 years to get their
Yeah.
business back. So I tell my business owners, do you have 2 years worth of lawyer, 2 years worth of all the fines, plus 5 years of half pay put away? So nobody has that kind of, I mean, it's just a lot. It just costs so much money to have a claim. And if it's a false claim, it doesn't matter. Once it hits the internet, you're still, why? Because every woman in the car, they're at the red light and they're looking at your building. Oh, good thing we don't go there. We're not going to shop there anymore. They don't treat the women. And 5 years later, you're still every time. So.
Yeah. And look, I like to think of it as the Johnny Dangerously, bird line. I don't know if you ever saw this, but it started out as one thing, and then by the time it got to the end of the line, it was something completely different, but there's once something gets out there, you have no control of it. And so you need to make sure that you can try to control what is getting out there. And if you protect yourself, you've got a hell of a lot better chance than if it gets out there without you being able to say, hey, stop. We're not doing anything wrong here.
Put cameras anywhere, especially if you have a private office and you bring team members into your office. I was in an office with a man once. I'm looking around. I said, do you bring the young women in here and shut the door? Oh, yeah. Like, no cameras. Cameras they don't need to record your audio. Nobody's going to listen to your phone calls, but just have the camera running in the background. People behave better when they see the cameras.
Well, they know that they're not going to be able to get away with everything at that point in time.
And as a business owner, it's your job to protect. And if you ever have a young woman in your office come in and say, hey, this customer, this patient is a creep, I don't want to be near them, it's your job to have them switch places or do whatever you need to do. I don't care if you stand there yourself while they get the job done. It's your job as a business owner to protect your staff and make sure they have a safe environment to work.
And look, and as a business owner, that's just that we want people to want to come and work for us. We don't want people to sit there and second guess. Well, I wanted to come and work for you, but I heard that you let this go on, and I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with that. So can you explain I'm going to say SALUS, SALUS training?
Yes.
What is that?
SALUS training. SALUS is Greek. We're the lawyers. We're the doctors out there. Get your Greek out. SALUS is a Greek word for safety. SALUS training systems, safety training systems. Everything I do is about how to stay safe. So SALUS training system is, so the first company was Illinois Sexual Harassment Prevention Training. I had one town and one class. That lasted not even a year. So now the new company is SALUS Training Systems. We have more classes. We offer more. We have got coaching programs, and it's just a more, everything goes under the McPhee Coaching umbrella.
And just to let everybody know, Deb is doing some changes to her website. So if you ever get there and the website is not up and running, check back with her. But I mean, you can always, right. Once again, we're going to put her phone number up again. But I mean, if there's ever any time that you need to talk to her, you can always get a hold of her through us. I will definitely connect you because I really want to see this training get out there. I want to see this training get out more. I think one of the things that you really said that really struck a nerve with me is that, the Me Too movement, I'm not going to blame anything on the Me Too movement. It's just people change throughout time. What was okay, I couldn't imagine walking into a place right now and I was watching a show earlier that I loved 6 years ago, and he called someone a chick, and I'm like, no, that ain't gonna happen. I like my eyes not blackened.
Right. And when you said it was okay years ago, it was never okay. Women just were getting
It was
fired. I was
acceptable.
fired for I had a boss that didn't treat me well, and I went to HR and they fired me. Well, there's a law
Yeah,
now that says you can't be fired for reporting sexual harassment, but years ago that
they suffer ramifications for turning a boss in. Where do they go? Because you know that you can't be fired for it, but boy, your life turned upside down because of it.
yes, we had one woman who was instigating inappropriate behavior in the lunchroom. Everybody thought it was funny. Oh, ha ha ha! And then she started. The guy started with her, and it was a factory, and they started, teasing her, and she went right to HR. And so by the time after the fact, to try to clean up the mess, they said, "Oh, well, 3 weeks ago she did." I said, "Nobody reported her inappropriate behavior 3 weeks ago. In fact, you rather enjoyed it. She's reporting your inappropriate behavior." So the owner of the company had to fire the 3 men. Her job was safe, and he had to write a check to get her to shut up. So from
Yep.
the owner's point of view, he says, "I'm down my 3 strongest factory workers going into Christmas. This one gets to keep her job while she leisurely does the minimum and looks for a new job elsewhere. And I had to write a check." So who lost that day? The business owner, because he
Yeah,
had employees in a lunchroom that couldn't behave like adults.
yeah, and guys, in sports talk, that's the person. The initial crime, you never get caught. It's the retaliation that you get caught. It's
Mhm.
kind of one of those things right there. So, Deb, I want to first off, I want to thank you so much for coming back on, and we're going to announce as soon as the trainings start coming back online, as soon as we get those up. Once again, if you use and give her a little bit of time to do this, but when you sign up, if you put the code word community in there, you're going to get a class for free, and that class is the office drama, or
When violence comes to work.
when violence comes to work. You're going to get that one for absolutely free. So when you sign up, use the code word community, and you're going to get when violence comes to work absolutely free, as just trying to get to know how serious this is, because this is not, this isn't a joke.
Yeah.
This really isn't a joke. And I mean, this is something that we need to take care of.
And can I say one more thing? A lot of people say, "Oh,
Please.
we did our training. We did our training online. We're done. We're done." When you do your training online, I really advocate for a live person to do the training, because you have to have a phone number for your employees to call somebody when something's wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
So we do it online, and the slide comes up from the state. Got a problem? Call us right here. Well, you're just teaching your employees to call the state, and once the state knows there's a problem, they're going to come back and sue you. So you're teaching your employees how to sue you. You have to have a minute. Yeah, I do it like this. A lot of people have an OSHA person, especially the doctors and stuff. You got an OSHA person on speed dial in case you get a citation. Well, now you need somebody like me on speed dial in case something goes wrong. So when the first time somebody walks into your office and says, "Hey, I don't like customer John," then you got to fix it. You got to fix it. And if you're too busy or not equipped or don't want to deal with it, let me wear that hat for you. I can just come in and make it go away. Yeah.
Introducing Shop, Click, and Pick, the simplest way to support those doing good in communities everywhere. We understand that shopping is a necessity, but with a slight adjustment, you can make a huge difference without spending any extra money. Here's how it works. Please visit communitypayitforward.us and navigate to the Find Your Partners tab. Discover our verified giving partners, which are trusted allies ready to meet your needs. Shop with any of the partners that resonate with you. Click a picture of the receipt or invoice, then pick the mission partner you wish to support and use their QR code to send the receipt directly to us. After that, all you have to do is sit back and enjoy your purchases, knowing that you've made a meaningful change for someone in need. Community Pay It Forward amplifies your business's impact by sharing the story of those who require your services, rallying support for those who need us all. Because no one needs to go it alone when we all come together. Okay, so our next interview is with Meg, from Dating Tips with Meg. This is more, once again, she was in a very improper relationship. She was in a relationship where she was bullied, and unfortunately, the stuff she went through has become more and more prevalent. Look, there's no doubt about it that social media, AI, electronics, all these things are wonderful for day-to-day life until they're not. And Meg's going to explain to you a lot of why it's not. So I'd like to introduce you to my friend from Dating Tips with Meg. Meg. We've met a lot of really, really, really good people with a lot of really good messages in the little over the year that we've done this show, Footprints Forward. I met Meg in a networking event, a Colorado networking event, and I was hearing her story. And the ironic thing, I don't want to say the funny thing, the ironic thing is that I met Meg and I heard her story right after we talked to Deb a couple weeks ago. And as you guys all know, Deb was her ex-husband tried to have her killed. And she was raped and she was hurt in many, many ways. And 2 days later, I ended up meeting Meg, and I just realized, Meg, I still owe you an introduction to her. But I am proud to introduce everyone to a lady with another very, very serious story that has created something very, very beautiful. Meg Grett-Pratt, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me here today.
Well, no problem. I love what you're doing because it is something, you and I were talking about it. You and I just met really for the first time in a serious note about 40 minutes ago, and we've been talking ever since. But I love what you're doing because you and I both agree that, things are a lot different now. I mean, when I was a kid, when I was in the dating scene, things weren't as scary as they are now. I couldn't imagine what kids have to go through now, but you know, is that just a sign of the times? Is that why are things so much different? Is it because we're more aware, or why are things so much different for me than they were for my sons?
I think the biggest answer I can give, or the best answer I can give to you, is that it's always happening. People just don't talk about it. And so now people are talking about it, and people are letting those numbers come out. People are saying those 16 to 24-year-olds are affected at the highest rate of any population by stalking and violence. And if you have all these stalking victims, and then 50% of the women say that they were stalked before they were age of 25, it starts getting people thinking, oh, it is happening to other people. Because I think the other part we believe is that it only happens to certain people. I mean, when I give speeches, sometimes I talk about people. I say, close your eyes and imagine a victim, and people think Oh, okay. And they get this image in their head because I used to have an image in my head. I had this image of the person who had to be like drug addict or the alcoholic, and they had to be married, and they had, all these kids, but they lived in that's the poorest part of town. And the truth is that violence can happen to anybody. It happens to men and women. It happens to all ages. It happens to, the rich, the poor, the popular, the unpopular, your ethnic background. It's happening to anybody, and it's just people realizing and people hearing that it's not just happening to them anymore. It's not just happening to this small population or those images that we have in our head of those type of people who are being affected by it. And I think that there's a lot of more campaigns now that people are talking about teen dating violence and teen stalking and how much is affecting that population. And so now we know, like, oh wow, I would never imagine it's happening to kids, because when we grew up, maybe it didn't happen to us. Although every day I meet somebody, I tell my story, or they'll say, "What do you do?" And they say, "Oh, in high school, I was abused by my boyfriend." And I think it was happening then. People just didn't talk about it, and especially I think in rural towns, because people think it's a small town. This isn't happening here. Uh, but unfortunately, it happens everywhere, and it happens to just about anybody.
Think one of the other things that you and I did talk about just a little bit ago, that people don't understand when they see that vision, is that abuse is not just physical. Abuse is mental. Abuse is there's abuse that people have to go through all the time. You and I mentioned the financial abuse. Look, if I love your tagline. Please share your tagline with us.
Well, what's the tagline?
The what we were talking about, if with if something's not, if something seems wrong.
Oh, if there's something that seems wrong, or if it feels wrong, probably is wrong. And I always say, what I try to say is, if it's not, if this isn't normal, this isn't okay. That's the kind of the message I give to people a lot when I give them a scenario. This is not normal. This is not okay. One of the biggest that we just talked about was people asking, like, a digital abuse. People think, oh, it's just digital. It's just it's through the computer. How sad, how hard can this be? How scary can it be? But if someone every day asks you, let me see your phone, let me see who you've been talking to, let me see who you've been texting, let me see where your voicemails are from, that's a form of digital abuse, which is a form of dating abuse or relationship abuse. But it's not normal and it's not okay. And so letting people know that these things, just because it's not physical, doesn't mean it's not abuse.
But
So
the true fact of this is, and this is to all you guys and girls out there, the truth is that if there's no trust, there's no real relationship. If
no,
somebody cannot trust you, you're not in a good relationship, because there's just going to be problems there. If you
right.
can't trust the person that you're with 100% to go out and do what they're going to do, then you're not in a great relationship, you know.
Right. I
So,
mean, I think we've all been in those jealous relationships, or you've been jealous. I don't think there's anybody who can say they've never been jealous.
oh
But
no,
there's extreme jealousy, the jealousy where you can't even look at the waiter in the eye because, oh, you must be flirting with them. Are you sleeping with that person? Those kind of jealousy that people have to recognize. This is not okay. This is not normal. This is not okay. You should be either addressing it, but along with trust comes that communication thing. And then when I teach healthy relationships, I always talk about communication. Everything comes back to communication. If you can't trust someone, if you talk to them, you get it across. Someone understands, it alters their behavior, they're better. Great, communication saved it. If you communicated like, this is my boundary, this is like, I can't take you not trusting me, or you attacking me every time I look up at the waiter, and someone continues to do that, but they built the trust, they've broken your trust because they don't respect your boundaries, and they're not listening to you, they're not respecting your communication or your opinion. So I think a lot of it, people think, what else goes into a healthy relationship? I'm like, well, communication for one. If you can't communicate with a partner, or you're afraid to talk to your partner, that's really, a big red flag, is that this is not a healthy relationship for you as well.
Meg, your story is very important to your mission. And while it's a story that I hate having you repeat, it is very important. So, can you tell us the story behind Meg? Why are you doing what you're doing?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I think when I first started sharing my story, I was sharing with counselors and family and friends, and all I did was cry because that was my life and that was the trauma I was continuing living in. And now there's something about telling my story that makes me feel empowered, and it feels like I'm helping people with my story. So
Hmm?
the story goes in a nutshell is that I was beginning to work with a man, and we started dating within a few months of working with him. And within 6 months, and actually within the first few months, I didn't see it until the 6 month mark, he got physical. And that was when my eyes actually opened. There's a lot of things that had been happening that weren't healthy all along, but I hadn't seen him, and I'd been compensating like, oh, he's stressed, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. And when someone punches you in the face, you kind of go, oh, wait, this is not for me. This is not okay. I'm not going to be a punching bag. And that night, he revealed basically that he'd had hidden cameras in my cars. He'd had hidden cameras in my homes. He'd been like listening to my devices. He'd been in my social media. He'd hacked my phone. And so he had, basically seen me give someone a ride, 5 minute ride. It wasn't even a big deal, but he exploded over that. And he wanted to kill me for that. Um, that night, if my phone hadn't rang, he was strangling me at the moment when my phone rang. And he just jumped up because he knew it was that guy. Like, I'm going to see what that guy wants. Um, After that, like, I tried to get away from him for probably about a year. And every time, every 3 months, he'd threaten or figure out some way to get me to kind of come back. Like, oh, if you don't come back, I'm going to hurt your son. Or if you don't come back, I'm going to kill you. It doesn't make sense now that I would go back for those reasons. But when you're dealing with it, you believe that that's what's going to happen. And so about every 3 months, I went back for every time. Every time it got worse. Drugged me the first time we got back together. I have stitches down to the bone in my chin from that occasion. Um, and he just continued to stalk me, breaking into my homes, putting hidden cameras. I lived in safe houses all over the state, moved several different times. And after it was daily torture. Your phone doing whatever he wanted to do, turn it on, turn it off, turn the camera on, take pictures, uh, following you around. If you went outside your house, you could see someone there. At the very end, probably the very end was in March of 2020, and that was the seventh year of this happening on a daily basis. And I was looking up at the drone, and there was a drone sitting there that had a camera on it, and I had made the decision that I was no longer going to participate in this game. That he was no longer gonna, he was not gonna quit. So how was this ever gonna end? Like, I was a shell of a person. I had no mental capacity anymore. Anxiety, PTSD, you name it. That little list went behind my names. And COVID hit the next morning after I decided, like, I planned to end my life. COVID happened the next morning, and the TV came on, and all I was enthralled with was like, oh, I don't want my family or my kids. I don't want anybody else. No one else is gonna die. Like, the plan was for me to be the person, but no one else. And so I like set up headquarters at our house, and my kids came home from school and work, and uh, you know how it went. Every day that was all that happened. That's all anyone talked about, and everyone was trapped at home. And about 2 or 3 weeks in, I started realizing that my phone messages weren't read in the morning. It wasn't like it was important to look at my phone messages because everyone who I loved was already with me, but things weren't happening. No one was breaking into your home anymore because you're occupying your home. There's more than just me here. There was lots of people here. And probably about May, I realized, okay, I was feeling much better. Like, I wasn't crying. I actually smiled. I could take a deep breath, which I hadn't been able to do that for years. And my family said, something's changed with you. We recognize that you're a way different person, like, is it just this COVID thing or what's going on? And by December that year, I decided, like, I thought I was strong enough to go back to work and go do something. And I didn't want to go back to conference planning or sales or all these different things that I had succeeded at before that. I had to help people, and I had to decide, like, how, what happened to me that led me into that decision, like, led me into that life. And the biggest thing I realized is that I didn't recognize the early signs. I didn't recognize the emotional abuse, the financial abuse, the isolation, all those things that people say, oh, he didn't hit me. I didn't recognize till that December that when he hit me, or that all the other stuff had been happening. And so I started sharing my story on podcasts. And people said, "Oh, your story is so powerful. We need, you should talk. You should tell other people with this." And so I decided to form Dating Tips by Meg, and it's a nonprofit that we speak to people, especially high schools and college students, to try to get them to realize what's healthy and what's unhealthy, and how to get help if you're in that relationship, and letting people know that they're not alone, but there is help out there. And so that's kind of me in a nutshell what happened. And then last year and a half, just been working on. I have a social media where I post videos and posts about tips to stay safe, what to avoid, what's right, what's not right, those kind of things. And so that's kind of where we've been working on for the last year and a half, and then looking at just expanding into schools and community events and conferences, just to share the word with as many people as possible.
Let me ask you this. How difficult is it for you to, for someone to warm up to you? Maybe somebody who's got some of this going on. How difficult is it for them to come to you and warm up to you and be able to trust you? Because they're living in this life where there is no trust. So that trust, building that trust has got to be a very, very difficult hurdle, right?
It is and it isn't. So I also volunteer on two crisis lines,
Right.
the victim crisis lines, and you have those people who calling in. They're calling in crisis. Some won't give their name, and just listening and believing, and listening to them and saying, "I hear what you're saying. Like, I understand that," and either, and not, you don't want to share your story so much with them, but letting them know, like, I've been through that. I understand what you're going through, and like, I believe you. What else? What do you want to do? What's your magic wand wish to make this better? Or what? So it kind of amazing. Like, I'll meet with people, do the networking one on one, and I'll just expect that we're going to talk about what I do, and then we'll talk about what they do. I kind of talk about why I do what I do, and people, about 90% of the time, someone will come back with their story and let me know what's been happening with them or what happened to them, where they're at now. I get referrals all the time for people like saying, "I think she just needs to hear someone understands what's going on with her." So it hasn't been as difficult as the warming up part. The hardest part is warming up to the schools, not so much the victims, and being able to share with them, like, just listen to them and understand their experience is real. I think that's probably the advantage I have over some of the other speakers, is that I made it through. I'm a survivor versus a lot of people are reacting to something that happened to their family or happened to a loved one. And I'm like, I am that person. And so I know how hard it is, what you're going through. And I know how all these walls are coming up, and how no, you feel like you're so alone. And I think that that's one thing the victims just need. They just need someone to say, "I believe in you. I hear what you're saying, and I know it's hard, but we can get through this."
The school's afraid to talk about this because they're afraid to bring it up. Are they afraid to talk about this because um they're afraid to I don't, look, I guess I akin it a little bit to maybe like sex ed, that they're afraid to talk about it because it's something that is difficult to talk about. But this is really something that there should not be any fear to have you come in. There should be a boasting. There should be a, hey, you know what, kids, sit down, listen to this, take this in.
You think so? You think that the people, I mean, I've gone everywhere from, okay, we can eliminate most of the story, but it's the story that gets people to stop and listen. And
Mhm.
then they believe you get credibility for what like, okay, this person has some knowledge about it. And then you see you see those heads nodding in the audience. And so that people are going through it. I've had the chance to I actually talked to a group of middle school girls about, in March, and I was really worried, like, how well I relate to them, because they're just not quite dating, but most of them are dating. And it was amazing how many people are raising their hands and talking and sharing their experience, and sharing, what's going on in the middle school world. And it just makes me say, why won't the high schools talk about it? Why don't they want to? The colleges are definitely different. They're more liberal because their parents aren't as involved in what the curriculum is that they bring in. But the high schools, they're just, I think they're afraid, like they're going to get sued. They're going to, their kid's going to come home and like, maybe they're going to recognize that you're not in a healthy relationship as a parent. Maybe they're going to call you out on something. I don't know what the big scary thing is for them, but it's like, just teach these kids this is a life, like you're giving them all the tools to succeed, but if they run into one of these bad relationships and they can't recognize it, this will destroy everything they've been building. Like, as a grown woman, I know that I had this wonderful life going on, and it destroyed me down to nearly nothing of a person. And I thought I was a very strong person. I can't even imagine people who are just starting off in life, this is their first dating experience, and this is what happens to them, like what it's going to do to their lives.
I think you brought up a good point with the parents is that, I mean, look, if this is the way that mom and dad are, this is what, and then that's your first relationship, that is normal. That's, and I think that growing from that normal to something different is going to be, I loved your answer about, maybe parents are afraid that they're going to find out that, whoa, our stuff's kind of screwed up as it is. So, um,
Right.
one of the I know one of the things that we talked about that you like to caution people, and when I asked you, what did you need? Because that was exactly what it was. You know, I really, really want to make sure that we hear from someone who's went through this. And
Right.
your answer is very simple. Meg, what did you need from others?
I needed someone to believe me and to listen and to be there for me. I I had a very, and I'll just thank them forever and ever. My mom, my kids shouldn't have been on their like level, but they believed, like they understood what was going on. But just having someone listen to you, not be, minimizing something. I think it's easy to say, like, especially if you know the perpetrator, and not being like, oh, he could never do that. You just isolate that victim so much more. But someone saying, I believe what's happening to you, I hear you, what can I do to support you? And then keeping that confidence, because I think a lot of people, I don't say it's gossipy, but it's kind of, it's a gossipy subject. People want to talk about it like, whoa, did you hear what happened? And um for me, it's just having those people who believed me and then like supported me. I mean, I had the opportunity, not the opportunity, I was mandated to see an advocate very shortly after he was arrested because of a restraining order. And I had no clue how bad the relationship was. And she had this little questionnaire, like 25 questions. And when she first started saying it, I was like, oh, how bad could it be? 23 questions later, she's like, you've checked yes to 23 of these things have happened in your relationship. And it was an eye opener for one, but it was also that she didn't go, can't really be that bad, could it? Are you really sure about these answers? She believed what I was saying, and she knew that this was what my life was like. And it was a big relief to have someone who actually understood what was happening in your world and believed you. And so I think if you can do anything for someone, if someone comes to you, is to believe them, not minimize it, keep their confidence, and then the other thing is to let them, they're being controlled by someone already, and to not control like what they say, because you want to say, oh, I'm going to take this and we're going to rip you out of here and do this and this. Let them lead you into the conversation. Let them lead what they want to do and how they want to do it, because also the victims know their perpetrators best. They know the abuser, like if you do this, he's going to do this, or if I do this, it's a very dangerous time for people to break up with somebody. So don't assume people are not breaking up with them because they're just lazy, or they're like, oh, she's so pathetic. Why won't she just leave this person? There's usually a lot of reasons behind why people can't leave, just get up and leave immediately. And so being there and being supportive, even if they do go back, is really important.
Did talk about a relationship that I was in, and that was something that, I tried to be there when I could, but I could not understand the reason why she kept returning to, these situations. It was hard for me to understand. That's just a little bit of personal growth on that needed to be made on my part, to where I wouldn't walk in every time, go, pack an effing bag, we're leaving, you know.
Right.
Um, you know, when you go in there full of piss and vinegar and think that you're doing the right thing, but actually what you're doing is you're probably making the situation a whole hell of a lot worse. If you know, if you're trying to make somebody make that decision, well, you're not probably, you are making it worse, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's not every time you make it worse, but it's the overall thing that the person's been in this power and control struggle with someone else. That person's told them what to do, how to act, what to eat, all of these different things. And so if another person comes in, even if they're trying to do the right thing, but they're still telling that person what to do, they still have no control over their life. And so, like, little by little, I mean, even if you do rescue the person, maybe the next step is like, now what do you want to do? Now what do you want to do? So if I think you try to do the right thing, and it seems like the right thing to do is just save the person, get them out of that situation, because they're like, obviously sometimes people don't think, they don't know what they want to do at that moment. They're afraid, there's lots going on. There all these things are going through their head, what they're contemplating, what would happen if I do leave. um but you can still get back to power afterwards. You can still say, hey, we're out of this situation, this immediate situation at the moment. What else? What's next? What do you want to do? What do you see, as the next best step? Because as long as you don't continue controlling the whole time, I think that you're still being very helpful. You're still have the right intentions. Um, and then, in a situation like that where it's like an immediate danger kind of thing, and you're probably putting yourself in danger doing that, there is probably the only thing you can do is say, pack your bag, let's go, you know. So, and you don't have the time to sit down and talk to them one on one by themselves and like give them the time to walk through all these steps. So, yeah, you do what you do and you try to do the best you can. And then if it's, you don't have to be expert, you've rescued them from that immediate situation. Maybe you call in the next person, an advocate. This is what's happening. What should we do next? How do I help this person best next?
We could go down this road all day long. We could go down this road all day long. It's very easy because it's something that personally is extremely upsetting to me. You know, I let's put it this way. When we were off air and when you told me your story the first time, I I told you right away that I'm proud of you. And I know that doesn't mean anything from a guy that you just met, but I was proud of you. The second time I heard your story, I felt pissed. I was so pissed at the guy for doing this to you, because it's just like, what kind of person? And I cleaned it up a lot when I just said person does
Yeah.
this to someone else. What kind of person does this to someone else? And it's stuck in my head. And it's just, I don't understand a lot of this. But now I think what I really want to focus on for the last little bit that we've got together here, Meg, is tell us about what you're doing now. Tell us about Dating Tips by Meg. Tell us about how you're helping kids and adults, not just kids. You're
Right.
helping individuals make sure they are not you.
So, like I said, at the end of my relationship, or when I was getting ready to recover, I looked back and said, what was I missing? What was the big thing? Like, I was a smart. I'm not saying this to be like boastful, but I was a smart woman. I had my head on my shoulders. I had raised kids. I'd been managers of, run corporations, kind of thing. And I realized I just didn't know what these red flags were or the early signs of an abusive relationship were. Like, in my mind, I thought it was just abuse, like physical abuse. And so breaking that, like thinking, how can I break that illusion? And so now I share my story, and along the way, letting people know, like, here was a red flag. This was a red flag. These are ones I just, gladly walked right over. For some reason, I ignored them, thought that they weren't that bad. I made excuses for them. But letting people know what the early signs look like and that there's help. Like, I think people get trapped in that information that it's not that bad. He's not hitting me. All these different excuses you may have. But so letting people know they're not alone. This is happening. Emotional abuse is just as bad. I'm not saying just as bad, but to me, it took me longer to recover from the emotional abuse than it did the physical abuse. And the bruises recovered. Even years later, some of the bruises finally recovered. But emotional abuse, it's still in your head and you still think about these things and you still wonder, like, can I trust myself? So teaching people how to trust themselves, healthy relationships, red flags, and then because a lot of the years that were covered in the end were stalking, I do a lot with digital stalking and tell people, digital safety, online dating, safety, what to do if you think you're being stalked, what's the safest way to, do it. Because again, like I'll just say one of the obvious things. If you found a hidden camera, what you want to do is rip it out, destroy that thing and be done with it. But there's your evidence. So it's very difficult, but it's like, okay, you find that device, take a picture, put a pillow in front of it, then call the authorities, like go through the proper channels. So giving people all those tips and how to stay safe, how to, what the smart reaction is versus the gut reaction sometimes. And then even I know I talk about gut reactions. Learn how to trust your gut. You know, as a kid, things come out. Someone says do this, and you're like, the first thing happens is your stomach gets upset. It's not just you happen to have a tummy ache at that time because you ate something wrong. It's your body telling you that it's not okay. You need to stop and think about what's next. Maybe this isn't for me. And that comes to human beings as well. Someone's very, I'm going to say this, he's very racist. It makes me very uncomfortable because I'm like, oh, I'm very anti racist kind of person. Like, I don't talk to people and like have names for people and that kind of thing. And I should have known because it made me uncomfortable really off the bat, but I wasn't listening to my gut. And so listening to your gut, trusting your gut, making the actions and knowing that there's help out there. And so that's the other big thing in teaching is just that there's help. There's help nationally, there's help locally, there's your family and friends. There's help. You're not alone. And then with 1 out of 3 women and 1 out of 4 men experiencing this every day, it's you're not alone. And there are people who are experts and understand what's going on to you. And even if you think, oh well, I went back, they're not going to understand. Those are the people who really are going to understand because that's their field. They're the experts. They've seen this over and over again, and they know what it takes and how hard it is to get out of a relationship like that. So yeah. So speaking at high schools and colleges and community events and working with police departments, people who are training people to, recognize victims, recognize stalking, all those different people I work with right now.
The what about if somebody says, well, I'm going to change this for this person? Isn't that kind of a little bit, isn't that a little bit of abuse? Because if you're not good enough for a person, shouldn't that be like a red flag that, if you can't accept me for who I am, well, sorry. And I
Right.
don't need to joke about it, but it is true. Look, if you come into a relationship with me and my first thing is to look at you and say, you know what, I think that we can have a good relationship, but you need to stop doing this and you need to stop doing this, and you know how you like this tough shit, you're not doing
Right.
that anymore. That's
Wow.
not good. That's not a good relationship.
Right. People who love you for who you are, and not saying like, okay, you put the soap in the water every time. You need to change that. Those are little things. When people want you to change who you are and how you act, and like those are things that you should be considering red flags. Like if people communicate with you, oh, I really hate that. Okay, I'll say this for healthy conflict. I tell people I am a person when I have healthy conflict or I have conflict. I like to think about it because I know that the Italian side of me will tell people bad things or say bad things, and I don't really mean them, but if I don't get my space, that's how I deal with conflict. If I understand that and I communicate that, and like the person who I'm in relationship with, like, I need you to talk to me right away. Like I can't have you walking away from an argument. There's a compromise, and so they're not asking you to change, but to understand each other so that you can better work together is one thing. But someone telling someone like, oh, you can't do this anymore, you can't do that anymore, you can't do this, or you have to do this, it's not there. And I always tell people, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. You're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and you want to find someone who really loves you for who you are. And it's a lot less work when you are who you are and someone accepts you for that person.
Somebody's trying to force you to leave friends or family behind
Mhm.
because they don't like them. Well, they don't need to be around you all the time. These are the
Right.
people that you've grown relationships with. These are people that you've grown comfortable with, and this is your circle. You can't depend on somebody else to build your circle. So just remember that. And if they're trying to force people out of your life who you've loved for, a long time, that could be a
I
setup.
Isolation. It's one of the tactics. I mean, and I think the main reason people try to get those people out of your lives is because the only thing they want you hearing is their opinion and
Mm.
what they think is right. And if you have anybody who loves you and they're like, well, that doesn't sound right, they could alter what they could take away the power from that person who's like been kind of mind controlling you all this time. And so that's why they isolate you from family and friends who might, care more about you than what this guy's opinion is. And so guys or girls, opinion might be of you. And so yeah, definitely watch out for people who are trying to isolate you or make sure you don't have anybody else to rely on besides them.
Um, and I know that this could be a little difficult question to answer, but I'm just going to ask it anyway, just to make sure. You're on a first date with somebody. If they do blank, that should really be a red flag.
They do anything that makes you anxious, that should be a red flag. So they yell at the waiter, makes you kind of anxious,
Yeah.
like the behavior. They, they say something like they say something very provocative to you that you're just like, oh my gosh, that makes you anxious. You know, um, there's so many things that people could do to make you feel uncomfortable, but it should be one of those first things where you go, whoa, that makes me very uncomfortable. I'm If it makes you uncomfortable and that's the first date, there's no telling what the next escalation and all those different bigger things are going to be. I know that one of the first times I went out with that person, he yelled at like his wait staff and just went crazy on the wait staff. I'm like, oh my gosh, like it wasn't a big deal kind of thing. And it should have been for me going, oh, this is not for me. Like I don't treat people like this. I don't like I'm not I don't want to be with someone who treats people like this. And again, I walked past the red flag thinking, oh, he's stressed. Oh, he didn't really like this meal. Oh, it's an expensive meal, blah, blah, blah. But it made me very, very, very uncomfortable. And even when we were working together, before we started dating, he was a yeller and a slamming of the doors. And I don't do well with loud noises or people screaming it, just screaming, because it makes me anxious. Like, what are you going to do next? And there was a red flag. And that was even before the relationship started. I should have been like, if this is how he treats other people, how do you think he's going to treat you?
I really didn't think that you would have much of an answer for that. I was thinking about it because you know what, the first date, you're always a little anxious anyway.
Right.
Maybe a little. There's a lot of curiosity, and I guess there's a difference between curiosity and oh, But
Right.
yeah, I mean, if there's something that makes you want to get away from this person, definitely.
Right.
I had never really thought. I'd never given it much thought. Let's be honest there, but I'd never really given it any thought that, I mean, there could be something that happens in on the first date that would make things go like that. So yeah, that's
Right.
such great advice. So,
Yeah.
uh, you know, um, what what can someone do? What would you suggest they do if they're starting to feel uncomfortable and they just need to make sure that they are safe?
Well, depending on if you are in, so on first dates, being safe, tell people, then this sounds like a little bit of a covert kind of thing, but you have that friend, you always have someone who knows exactly where you're going. You keep your location on at this point in time, and you have that check-in call with that code word and you say, oh, this is not working. And a lot of times right now in restaurants, they'll have the bar or the bartender we can mention something and they know that you need a safe right out of there or you're not feeling safe anymore. Um, in general, keeping safe is not to be in public, not to be in a private space with a person. Um, if you're like, trying to escape, I know when that first night, that bad night, he was guarding the door. It was one door of a condo, and all I could think about was how do I get past that door, because I felt unsafe. But I'm like, I have no shoes, I have no keys, I have no phone. Um, but not being, putting yourself in that thing. And then if you are in a personal situation, being very vocal about the no. I mean, I did one of the other things I talk about is consent a lot, and saying, people say no, take a no. People say yes, but their body's saying no. That's still not a good. That's not a yes. But being very vocal, there's uh was a self defense thing that says stop, back away. I don't want any problems. And at first, this kind of sounds silly, but it startles people. And if you're yelling it loud enough, you know, other people can recognize it. Person kind of gets startled enough that like, okay, I don't want to do anything to do that. Um, the uncomfortable thing, and then if you can communicate, I think that probably if you're in a situation with someone that makes you uncomfortable, they probably are not the person that's going to hear you when you communicate either way. But you can always try communicating like I'm not comfortable with this. This is not, I'm not good with this. I want to leave, and making things very clear. I know that we as people try to be people pleasers and we don't like to say no, even to, being the church potluck lady, it's like we don't say no. We'd rather be tortured ourselves than say no to somebody else. But saying the no and being very clear, this is a no. Uh, I'm not comfortable with, what's happening in this situation. If you can get to a friend or family or anybody in public, you use that as a, your safety buffer. And if people are bystanders, be brave enough to say, are you okay? You don't look like you're okay. Do you need help? And if it feels like a situation you can't really get involved in, then go find someone else to intervene and help. Find an officer, find somebody else, security, campus security, find someone who has authority to make things stop. But don't just give up just because you're like afraid to say no, afraid to speak up for yourself.
What are the perpetrators? What are they going to do? What are they going to use to get you to come back?
Threats. A lot of them are threats. Threats that like I'll hurt your family, I'll hurt your pet, I'll hurt your kids. Um, I'll expose you. A lot of times these people made you do something you're uncomfortable with in the first place. And so I'll expose those pictures, or I'll tell somebody that you're a bisexual, or I'll tell someone you're homosexual. Like they have no problem making you out to be a bad guy or exposing your deepest secrets. I had recently had someone who said just wanted this picture so badly, and I'm like, I'm not doing it. I said, do you know how many times in a day or a week I tell people, do not sext. Like you do not know who you can trust. Once it's out there forever. And it was very hard to get that through. The person's like, I've been threatened with something that I did and I'm regretful and I've learned from that mistake, and that's why I teach people not to do it anymore, or not to do it. And you know not feeding them in more information, especially in first dates. Don't give them too much information that they know so much about you that they have something to dangle over your head.
We
So
we did talk about that earlier too. We as a human species, we tend to answer questions or give answers to questions not yet asked, and this is dangerous. You can't, um, you know, you can't give away everything and let people know about it. Pete, the perpetrators will spend a lot of time building up that weapon, won't they? You know, they'll convince you it's okay to do that thing that maybe you're not too comfortable with, and then they've got that in the bank.
right. Oh yeah. They've always got like this game plan going. I don't know if they get a book in the beginning when you want to be an abuser, but it's like they follow it to a T. Like, and then we'll gather some information, and then we'll have pictures of this information, or we'll keep a text message of this information. Um, we'll have cameras installed, so we'll watch you do something that you're ashamed of doing. I think that they do it, and just kind of like I talked about physical, like emotional abuse escalating to physical abuse. When they lose control of something, they bring out the next target or the next weapon. And if that weapon doesn't work, they bring out the next weapon. And then it just kind of escalates to, someone being physically assaulted. Like that's, your life and death part where you're like, oh, okay, that scares me enough. Maybe I'll behave again. Um, but yeah, I think that's That's what they set out to do in the very beginning. And I always wonder from my own experience, like, why did you do this to me? Like, why was I such a conquest, or why did this have to happen for so long? Did you set out in the beginning just to destroy me? I have no clue still, but uh, yeah, I think you have to watch out for what you are giving them easily, ammunition, and kind of keeps those secrets closer to you. There's lots of things you can share with someone to get close to somebody without sharing your deepest, darkest secrets.
How difficult is it to be a mom now, knowing that this is a threat to your daughter? This is a threat to your son. How difficult is it to be a mother? And do your kids, knowing the situation that you were in, do they accept it, or is there times that they still sit there and go, "Mom, enough"?
Yeah, you know, my daughter was 9, my son was 18 when this first began, and I sadly, I mean, my daughter maybe not want me to share the story, but she said the saddest part is at one point, because he was such a great, like, carnival dad, because we both had kids, and on the weekends, certain weekends we'd have them. Um, that she actually thought he was a better dad than her real dad. Like, he's so much fun, and and then to find out later what he'd done to me, she was just like so ashamed, like, that she let him do that. I said, "What do you think happened to me?" I said, "I let him into our world. I made you trust him and believe him, and now I've seen how much he's hurt everyone, in my life." But being a mom, I think I've been very vocal. I'm one of those parents that are a little too honest with their kids. Probably, like, we have those conversations sometimes when they share stuff. I'm like, wow, okay, is my face doing that wow thing, or I hope I'm just looking normal, because I want them to come to me with things like happen. And I know my daughter has been in the bad relationship, and communications helped her. I know that my son was in an abusive relationship with a girl, and she literally was gonna just do this to destroy his life, because he wouldn't give up. She wouldn't give up what she wanted him to give up. And it was like, but being a mom, I'm very proud of what I like, where I've come from. And I have to say, I'm very thankful for the people that they kept supporting me. And even though I, like, screwed up majorly, they they've always been there for me, and they're always there. "I'm proud of you, mom, especially what I'm doing now. I'm proud of this. I'm so happy that this is happening for you." And um I have some amazing kids that, like, understand, because now I have a daughter who's 21 and a son who's 30, and they back me 150,000% all the time about what I'm doing, and they help with their friends. I think my friend might be in a thing. Can you talk to her? So it's gonna come full circle. And you know, I have to say that I have a lot of shame and regret about what happened, because you tear people through like hell for 7 years. But I learned, I'm on the other side now. I've learned this lesson, and all I can do is do the best I can nowadays. But my biggest priority always was, being a good mom to my kids, even when I was at the lowest part of my life. So,
Ironically, our kids are the same age.
oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, yeah. Free turns 30 this year, and or just turned 30, and yeah, Justice turns 22 in July. So yeah,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
but yeah, um, and you know, I like you, um, it. I'm embarrassed of what I allowed my kids to have to deal with a lot of the
Hmm.
stuff that I've done before. I make it no secret that I was, I was going through difficult things, and I dealt with it wrong. I was an alcoholic. I was a bad alcoholic. Um, I'm one of those guys that I never wanted to finish second in everything. I mean, I smoked 3 packs a day. I
I,
I drank, and I mean, I drank everything I could get I would start at 8 in the morning with screwdrivers, be on beer by noon, and still be drinking Captain Morgan's at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's just who I was. And I put my sons through that. And I know that now they look at me and they're like, hey, you, you put a lot of pain on, you put a lot of blame on yourself for a lot of stuff in which you weren't a great guy, but you weren't the asshole that you think you were. And I'm like, no, I was.
All
it's
right.
it's hard not to take that on yourself. And I mean, I think that there are times that I know for a fact I put more blame on myself than anybody else does. And so I can imagine everything that you're saying. I can understand. And like you, I there is about 10 more minutes of that interview that I would love for you to take and watch. And you can go to our YouTube channel. And, when you're on our YouTube channel, just hit up the buttons, Dating Tips by Meg, and it'll pop up. You can watch that video. Both of these ladies went through so much that they shouldn't have had to. If you're in a relationship where, Meg said it best. Look, if it doesn't seem right, it's not right. I understand that you feel trapped. And I think one of the things that both of the ladies really brought up was control. And I hope that together we can come together and we can try to find a way to give somebody that option if they feel like somebody is starting to control them. We can help them get out of that situation. I want to thank Deb McPhee. I want to thank Meg Grett-Pratt. Now I want to thank you for joining us. Again, very tough, sensitive subject tonight. Hey, we were honored to be on a show, Positive Talk Radio. And in the chat right now, if you go and you click on that link, it'll take you to our episode of Positive Talk Radio. I had a lot of fun. I really did. And I'd love for you to go and check it out. It really was a good time. We talked about things that, we don't generally talk about here. Got a little more personal than I usually do when it comes to politics. So, my wife finds it funny that I don't talk about politics here because I talk about it all the time everywhere else. So, but again, look, I had to do this because of a personal reason. We need to watch for this because it's ridiculous. All right. And if you're a controlling freak, I hope that we're going to be able to come to find a way to make your life the hell that you're making for everyone else. So please remember to love everybody or somebody out there because somebody out here loves you. Please, please. If you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone. No one has to go it alone when we all come together. Join us next week as we're probably, I know for a fact, actually, we're going to be announcing a huge program coming up for Christmas. So, but my name is Zach Clayton, president and founder of Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care. Thank you very much, folks. Take care of each other. That's all we got. Let's make sure we're all good.
Show me the way. You want to hold the heart. Sunset Boulevard. Bring me here. 'Cause it's not quite